There is a strange liberation that washes over you the moment you accept one simple truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Not your family, not your friends, and certainly not a society that applauds conformity and punishes authenticity. The choices you make in the quiet hours, when your back is against the wall and your spirit trembles, belong to you alone. You've faced battles no one else saw. You've wrestled with doubts at 3 a.m., mustering the courage to rise when every part of you wanted to stay hidden, and yet the world will still demand a play-by-play of your journey. They'll question your decisions, challenge your boundaries, and expect you to defend the scars you've earned. But those demands are born of noise, not necessity. Imagine your life as a canvas, painted with experiences that only you can truly interpret. When you feel compelled to justify your colors to spectators who neither understand your palette nor share your vision, you hand over the brush. True freedom lies in grasping that the brush is yours and yours alone. In this video, you will discover why explanations are often a form of seeking permission. You will learn how silence becomes an act of sovereignty, a declaration that your energy is sacred and untouchable. You will see how detaching from the need to be understood transforms you into someone who moves with unshakable calm, speaking only when it serves your purpose. We will explore the illusion of obligation, the invisible scripts that tell you to explain yourself, to bend, to appease. We'll illuminate the silent struggles you've endured and show you how honoring those private victories rewrites your relationship with approval. You'll hear the stoic wisdom of Epictetus and Seneca, reminding you that the only validation that truly matters comes from within. Then, we will guide you through the art of setting boundaries without guilt, of practicing non-reaction as your loudest voice, and of navigating the inevitable loneliness that accompanies self-ownership. You will see that walking away without a word can be the most powerful statement you ever make. By the end of this introduction, you'll feel a spark of conviction, an ember waiting to ignite. You'll realize that your life is not a press conference and your choices are not up for debate. The path ahead may feel quiet, even solitary at times, but it is on that path that your truest power awaits. So breathe deeply and trust the rhythm of your own unfolding. This moment is yours. You don't owe anyone an explanation, and in that realization, you begin to reclaim the peace and clarity you deserve. Let's begin. Part 1. The illusion of obligation. From the moment you learn to walk, invisible scripts begin to shape your steps, rules etched by family, friends, and society about who you must be and why. You feel an unspoken weight to justify your choices, as if life were a courtroom and you the defendant. Yet that burden is an illusion, a story you inherited, not a truth you were born with. The script you never wrote. Imagine receiving a script at birth that outlines every scene of your life: when to speak, whom to please, how to defend yourself. You carry that script everywhere, anticipating the questions. Why did you quit your job? Why aren't you married yet? Why did you speak up? But no one handed you an eraser to remove the lines that don't serve you. Recognizing the script is borrowed empowers you to rewrite it. False currency of approval. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Yet you've been conditioned to barter your authenticity for approval, exchanging your peace of mind for a fleeting nod of acceptance. Each explanation you offer feels like a concession, a relinquishment of your inner authority. When you trade your energy for someone else's validation, you impoverish your own sense of self. A story of expected justifications. Consider a young artist who chose to leave a secure career in accounting to paint full-time. Her parents, colleagues, and friends pressed for explanations. How will you pay rent? Painting isn't stable. Each question chipped away at her confidence until she felt compelled to defend her passion. The more she explained, the more she doubted herself. Only when she stopped justifying her path did she reclaim the joy that first inspired her brush. Epictetus on self-governance. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Reacting by explaining yourself hands power to external demands. By resisting the urge to justify every decision, you reclaim the governing seat of your own life. You learn that your choices require no audience, no jury, and no verdict. They require only your own understanding and acceptance, the burden of borrowed beliefs. You might ask yourself which beliefs you truly own and which you simply adopted because others held them. Perhaps you believe you must explain your boundaries or risk being seen as cold, yet those beliefs often stem from fear of rejection, of conflict, or of looking weak. As Seneca observed, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of the anxiety around obligation exists only in the stories you tell yourself about others' judgments. Pulling back the curtain, imagine lifting a heavy curtain to reveal an empty stage. All the audiences have gone, and the performance was for no one but your own shadow. When you see that the obligation to explain is self-imposed, you free yourself to act from intention rather than compulsion. You grant yourself permission to live according to your own values without the need to defend each step. Reclaiming your compass. Your inner compass points toward authenticity, not conformity. Whenever you feel the tug of obligation, pause and ask, is this explanation for me or for someone else's comfort? By answering honestly, you refocus on what truly matters, your growth, your peace, your purpose. Each time you choose not to explain, you reinforce your allegiance to that compass. Practical exercise. Today, pick one question you often hear. Perhaps, why did you change careers? Or, why aren't you on social media more? Instead of responding with justification, respond with a simple statement of fact. That isn't a conversation I'm interested in. Notice how your heart calms and your presence deepens. With each refusal to explain, you build confidence in your own narrative. Philosophical reflection. Marcus Aurelius encouraged constant self-examination. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The time spent justifying your choices could be spent embodying them. Actions rooted in conviction speak louder than words crafted to appease. When you embody your values, you no longer owe an explanation. You simply live in a way that needs none. Your path forward. As you move into the next part of this journey, carry this awareness. The obligation to explain is a borrowed burden that you can set down. You owe it to yourself to live from authenticity, not obligation. In recognizing and rejecting that illusion, you claim your sovereignty and begin the process of walking unencumbered toward the life you choose. Part 2. Acknowledge your untold struggles. You carry within you a catalog of silent battles, moments when your heart felt heavy and your mind spun with doubt. These struggles are unseen by others, yet they have shaped your resilience and carved your path forward. Honoring the midnight wrestle. Remember nights when insomnia became your confidant, keeping you company as you confronted fears others could never know. You replayed conversations, questioned your worth, and wondered if you could face the next day. Marcus Aurelius observed, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Each night you chose to endure rather than escape. you forged a quiet courage that now lives beneath your awareness, rising when every fiber screamed, "Stay." There were mornings when your limbs felt leaden, and your spirit begged for another hour of darkness. Yet you forced yourself up, stepped into the world, and performed tasks that required a strength you barely believed you had. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Those mornings were your crucible. Each act of getting up, dressing, and showing up became proof that your will is stronger than your doubts. The hidden cost of keeping pace. You may have felt pressured to keep up with expectations, academic deadlines, work quotas, social obligations, while your inner world vibrated with unrest. You smiled through tense meetings, nodded in agreement when your thoughts screamed dissent, and posted curated images that masked your exhaustion. In those moments of compromise, you paid a toll in authenticity. Yet every sacrifice deepened your understanding of who you refused to become. A story of buried pain. Consider the tale of a veteran who, after serving in conflict, returns home to a world that demands he be fine. No uniform now, no medals worn, just a man expected to resume life unchanged. He carries memories of loss and chaos that no one asks him to explain. Each day, he treads carefully around questions he cannot answer. Yet in his silent struggle, he discovers a profound truth. Peace is not given by others. It is reclaimed bit by bit within himself. Sensitivity as silent strength. Your untold struggles spring from sensitivity, a deep attunement to both your inner life and the world around you. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Feeling deeply can feel burdensome, but it also equips you with empathy, insight, and an unwavering moral compass. When you honor your sensitivity by acknowledging its cost, you transform it from a concealed weakness into a potent source of wisdom, reframing pain as tribute. Every silent struggle you endured is a tribute to your perseverance. The nights you wrestled with despair, the mornings you conquered lethargy, the days you masked anxiety, all testify to your unbreakable spirit. When you own these experiences, you no longer view them as scars to hide, but as badges of honor. They ground you in authenticity and remind you that you have already survived far more than you often credit yourself for. Exercise in reflective acknowledgement. Take a moment now. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Recall one moment when you felt completely alone with your pain. Allow yourself to acknowledge the depth of that feeling. Then ask, what did I learn about myself in that darkness? Write down the insight, no matter how small. Perhaps you discovered patience, self-compassion, or an unexpected spark of hope. By honoring that lesson, you anchor your growth in real experience. Philosophical reflection. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance. Your wisdom has been forged through intentional endurance. Every choice to face discomfort instead of fleeing it has sculpted your character. You are not defined by easy victories, but by the moments you remained steadfast when breaking seemed simpler." Sharing without exposure. You need not broadcast every hardship to validate your strength. True acknowledgement begins within. As you sit with your untold struggles, you become your own witness and advocate. When someone questions your boundaries or decisions, you can lean on your silent history. I have walked through darkness before, and I know my own heart. Your path forward. As you move into the next part of this journey, carry these truths. Your silent battles matter, your endurance is a foundation, and your growth is rooted in authentic experience. By acknowledging what you have silently endured, you cement the first pillar of a life lived on your own terms, no explanation required. In the next section, you will explore how silence itself becomes a declaration of your sovereignty and a shield against unwarranted demands. For now, honor the strength you have found in the quiet moments only you can truly know. Part 3. Silence as Sovereignty. Silence is not a sign of weakness, but the first proclamation of your inner authority. When you withhold explanations and resist the compulsion to justify yourself, you declare ownership over your narrative and guard your energy from needless expenditure. Silence as an act of self-rule. Every time you choose not to speak, you reinforce the boundary between your inner world and external demands. Marcus Aurelius urged, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." When you remain silent in the face of questioning or criticism, you embody that cliff, unmoved by the onslaught of expectations. Your calm quiet becomes a statement. You govern your mind, not outside voices. Many of your reactions are driven by the urge to be understood or accepted. Yet true sovereignty arises when you refuse to trade your peace for someone else's approval. Each unnecessary explanation is a concession of your authority. By reclaiming silence, you stake a claim on your own power, showing that your decisions need no external sanction. A story of silent command. In medieval Japan, samurai warriors were trained in the art of rei, respectful silence. When a rival insulted them publicly, the samurai did not erupt in anger, but maintained a calm posture, lowering their gaze. The crowd, expecting spectacle, fell silent. The samurai's refusal to engage became a powerful rebuke that spoke more loudly than words ever could. Your silence can have the same impact. By not giving fuel to the flames, you let them sputter and die. The philosophical core Seneca wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." In your own journey of pressures and obligations, silence has likely been your refuge. Now it can become your sovereign strategy. When you practice silence, you shift from reactive survival to intentional leadership of your own mind. You demonstrate that you choose when to speak, what to reveal, and how much of yourself to share. Practical exercise. The silent pause. Choose a setting, a family dinner, a work meeting, or a group chat, where you normally feel compelled to justify your choices. The next time you sense the urge to explain, pause. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Feel your feet on the ground and remind yourself, "I do not owe this word." Stay present in the moment without responding. Notice how your body relaxes and your mind gains clarity. Over time, this practice rewires your impulse loops, making silence your default response to unwarranted demands. Reflection on energy conservation. Each word you speak carries energy and intention. When you speak only what is necessary, you conserve your vital force for moments that truly matter. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." By embracing silence, you create space to listen to yourself and to others while preserving the energy that would have been spent defending or explaining. A modern example of tacit authority. Consider a respected CEO who faced public backlash over a controversial decision. Instead of launching into a defensive press tour, she issued a brief statement acknowledging concerns, then stepped back. In the following weeks, she focused on results rather than rebuttal. As her team delivered improvements that spoke for themselves, public opinion shifted. Her silence had granted her time to act, and her actions carried far more weight than any explanation ever could. Turning silence into a shield. When you adopt silence as sovereignty, you build an invisible shield around your focus and well-being. Intrusive questions ricochet off your stillness, unable to penetrate your calm center. People learn that you value substance over spectacle, and they adjust accordingly. You demonstrate that your life is not an open ledger for public cross-examination, but a private domain governed by your values. Deepening your practice. Each evening, reflect on moments when you felt the urge to explain and resisted. Journal those instances and note the shift in your emotional state. Did you feel empowered, less anxious? Let this record become a testament to your growing sovereignty. In the morning, reaffirm your intention. Today, I will speak only with purpose and preserve my silence against demands that drain me. The pathway forward. Silence is more than absence of sound. It is presence of resolve. As you continue on this journey, let your silence speak for you. Use it to uphold your boundaries, conserve your energy, and project an unshakable authority. In the next section, you will learn how to defend those boundaries with dignity and clarity, ensuring that your sovereignty remains intact. For now, honor the quiet power you have reclaimed, your first true act of self-rule. Part 4. Defending boundaries with dignity. Setting and maintaining boundaries is not an act of selfishness, but a demonstration of self-respect. When you stand firm in what you will and will not tolerate, you honor your worth and preserve the energy needed to pursue your true purpose. Recognize the necessity of no. Imagine your life as a garden. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you allow weeds to take hold, expectations that choke your growth. Saying no is the act of weeding out those demands, making space for what nourishes you. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." By refusing to bend under pressure, you choose not to be harmed by others' demands, and you assert your own sovereignty. When you first practice boundary setting, you may feel a twinge of guilt, as if you're disappointing someone you care about. That guilt is often a relic of learned behavior, an old injunction to please at your own expense. Recognize it for what it is, a message from past conditioning, not an accurate barometer of your integrity. A story of quiet resolve. Consider the manager who was known for her limitless availability. She answered evening emails and took calls at all hours to prove her dedication. Over time, she noticed her creativity draining away and her relationships suffering. One day, she simply stopped responding after work hours. At first, colleagues were surprised. Some complained. But when they respected her boundary, they found their own work improved without the expectation of instant replies. Her silence after hours became a rallying example of balanced commitment. Philosophical foundation Epictetus taught, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Your response to requests, whether you comply or decline, is squarely within your control. When you decline a demand on your time or energy, you exercise that essential Stoic principle of focusing on what you can govern. You shift from being buffeted by external events to guiding your own course, articulating boundaries with compassion. Defending your boundaries does not require harsh words or anger. In fact, a dignified no is often the most compassionate response for yourself and others. You can say, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm not able to take this on right now." That statement conveys respect. Respect for the request and respect for yourself. It removes confrontation and replaces it with clarity. Seneca on self-preservation. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Each yes you give to extraneous demands is time you cannot reclaim." By protecting your time and energy, you reclaim the moments meant for your highest priorities, whether that is creative work, personal growth, or the relationships that truly sustain you. Practical exercise, boundary rehearsal. Choose a situation you frequently encounter, perhaps a friend who texts late at night or a coworker who assigns you extra tasks at the last minute. Write down the request as it usually appears. Then compose a brief, respectful response in real time. Practice it out loud until it feels steady rather than confrontational. This rehearsal builds confidence, so when the moment arrives, you can speak your boundary calmly, without hesitation. Overcoming internal resistance. Your inner critic may warn you that saying no will lead to abandonment, anger, or judgment. Label that voice, "That's my fear of rejection," and observe it without capitulating. Ask yourself, is that fear based on fact or assumption? More often, you will find it is a story woven from past experiences, not the reality of the present moment. When you challenge that story, your resolve gains clarity, and the boundary you set carries the weight of truth, the ripple effect of dignity. When you defend your boundaries with dignity, you model healthy behavior for those around you. Friends and colleagues learn to respect the limits you set and begin to reflect on their own. Your act of self-respect invites others to honor your time and attention. And in turn, they become more conscious of preserving your boundaries. A personal reflection. Recall the last time you wavered on a boundary, when you agreed to something that felt off. Notice the impact. Perhaps you felt resentful, exhausted, or distracted. Now recall a moment when you stood firm and experienced relief or pride. Carry that memory as proof of your capacity to defend yourself with grace. Let it remind you that each boundary you uphold is a brick in the foundation of your self-respect. Preparing for future challenges. Boundaries will be tested. That is inevitable. When someone pushes back, you may feel tension or the impulse to explain extensively. Instead, return to simplicity. Restate your boundary and the reason if needed, then pause. Silence amplifies your message, signaling that the matter is closed until and unless mutual respect is restored. Your path forward. As you continue this journey, remember that defending your boundaries is an act of dignity, one that honors your deepest values and protects your inner life. In the next section, you will learn how to release the need for validation, further reinforcing the strength you cultivate when you live on your own terms. For now, celebrate every moment you choose to defend your limits with compassion and unwavering self-respect. Part 5. Release the need for validation. Validation can feel like a lifeline, a way to confirm that you have chosen correctly or acted wisely. Yet every time you seek approval, you hand over a piece of your power to someone else's judgment. True freedom comes when you release that need and stand firmly in your own conviction. When you pause to consider why you crave a nod of approval, you often uncover fear. Fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, or fear of being alone. Seneca reminded us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of the rejection you anticipate exists only in your mind. By releasing the need for validation, you step out of the prison built by imagined judgments and into a space of genuine self-assurance, the hollow echo of external praise. Imagine performing on a stage under bright lights, hearing thunderous applause and still feeling empty inside. That applause is not yours. It belongs to the crowd's fleeting mood. Likewise, likes on social media, compliments at work, and praise from friends can inflate your ego temporarily, but leave you craving more. When your sense of worth rests on these echoes, you become a perpetually reactive performer rather than the calm author of your own story. A writer once shared how she lost confidence in her craft because she published chapters online too soon, chasing early feedback. Positive comments would spur her to write more, but a single critical remark could stall her creativity for weeks. Only after she chose to write for herself, delaying publication until her work felt complete, did she rediscover the deep joy of creation. She traded the chase for validation for the discipline of self-trust. Epictetus on self-governance. Epictetus taught, if you seek serenity, place no value on things beyond your control. Other people's opinions are beyond your direct control. By placing your peace in that domain, you invite turmoil. When you shift your focus to what is within your power, your intentions, your actions, your integrity, you reclaim serenity. You train your mind to find satisfaction in the process of living according to your values, rather than in external applause. Practical exercise. The silent mirror. At the end of each day, stand before a mirror without your phone, without a journal, without anything but your reflection. Look into your own eyes and silently affirm one truth about yourself. I acted with courage today, or I honored my boundary, or I spoke my truth. No one else needs to hear it. That affirmation becomes an internal cornerstone, a silent echo that outlasts any external praise or criticism. A story of unwavering conviction. A community organizer faced intense pressure to temper her message in order to maintain donor support. She was told that harsh critiques of local leaders would alienate potential funders. Each time she considered softening her stance to win favor, she felt a drop in her voice's conviction. Finally, she chose to speak only what aligned with her values, regardless of financial consequences. Though some funding sources withdrew, new supporters who resonated with her authenticity stepped forward. Her release of the need for validation opened the door to unconditional backing. Seneca on inner worth. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." When you depend on others' validation, you place your happiness in a future moment, waiting for someone to approve. By enjoying your present moment, grounded in your own approval, you unlock a deeper contentment that no external force can take away. Transforming praise into perspective. When praise does come, view it not as a lifeline, but as a kindly offered gift. Accept it with gratitude, then return your focus inward. Ask yourself, how did I act with integrity here? This way you map praise back to your own standards rather than letting it inflate your worth. Over time, you build an internal compass that guides you more reliably than any external tide of opinion. Overcoming setbacks without approval, rejection, and criticism can still sting. When they do, pause and remind yourself, I did what I believed to be right. Reflect on the convictions that led you to take that action. Each time you stand by your choices without seeking permission, you reinforce your self-trust and diminish the critic's power. The ripple effect of self-approval. As you release the need for validation, you model a powerful example for others. Friends and colleagues observe your steadiness and may begin to question their own reliance on external praise. Your self-assured presence becomes an invitation for others to find their own inner approval, creating a community grounded in authenticity rather than applause. Your path forward. Moving ahead, remind yourself daily, your worth is inherent, not earned. Let your choices be guided by your own values, not by the promise of applause. As you step into the next section, where you will explore non-reaction as your loudest voice, you will find that releasing the need for validation opens the gateway to unshakable peace. For now, honor the courage it takes to stand firm without seeking permission, and recognize the freedom that blossoms when you trust yourself above all else. Part 6. Non-reaction as the loudest voice. When you refuse to react, you harness a strength that words cannot capture. In the space where silence meets intention, your power speaks volumes and reshapes every interaction. Understanding the potency of stillness, every reaction drawn in haste hands your energy to external triggers. When you hold your peace instead, you demonstrate that nothing outside you can compel you into chaos. Marcus Aurelius taught, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. By choosing non-reaction, you sidestep needless turmoil and preserve your clarity. In that calm, you command respect without uttering a single word. A story of unwavering calm. Consider a diplomat faced with a hostile counterpart who lobbed accusations and personal attacks. The crowd braced for a fiery retort, but the diplomat maintained a steady gaze and listened. After the diatribe ended, the diplomat asked one simple question that cut through the noise. Can you help me understand your greatest concern? The aggressor, unprepared to continue, was disarmed by the absence of animosity. In that moment of non-reaction, the diplomat's authority became unmistakable. Why silence unsettles manipulation. Manipulators thrive on provocation. They seek to see you flinch, to hear your defenses crumble. Seneca observed, silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. Your silence transforms suffering into wisdom. When you refuse to give them the reaction they crave, they lose their leverage, and you reclaim control. Your restraint turns into a mirror that reflects their own impatience and insecurity back at them. Cultivating the habit of non-reaction. Start with everyday irritations. A rude comment, a cutting email, a traffic cutoff. Notice the flare of emotion at the first spark. Instead of replying immediately, pause. Take a measured breath. Feel the impulse to react rise and fall, and choose stillness. Over time, this pause becomes automatic. You'll find that fewer words are spoken, yet your presence speaks more clearly than ever. Philosopher's reflection. Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In choosing non-reaction, you embody this principle. You place listening and reflection above impulsive speech. The wisdom you gain in silence guides your responses when you do choose to speak, ensuring your words align with your deepest values, rather than fleeting emotions. A personal anecdote of transformation. A project manager once shared how he used to escalate conflicts in team meetings, believing that forceful defense was his duty. After a particularly tense exchange, he realized that every retort drained his energy and fractured collaboration. He decided to test non-reaction. When criticisms flew, he simply nodded and said nothing until the next agenda item. Soon the team noticed his calm and began to voice concerns in a more constructive tone. His silence had set a new standard for respectful dialogue. Non-reaction as strategic restraint. Restraint is not passivity, It is a strategic choice to conserve your resources for moments that truly matter. When you learn to hold your silence, you gain the freedom to respond with intention rather than instinct. You become like a coiled spring, quiet yet full of potential energy ready to release at the right moment. Practical exercise. Response mapping. Select a recent situation where you reacted too quickly, perhaps an online argument or an uncomfortable conversation. Map out the stimulus, your initial reaction, and the outcome. Then redesign your response. Identify where you could have paused, what questions you might have asked instead of statements, and how remaining silent for a beat would have changed the dynamic. Visualizing this alternative path trains your mind to choose non-reaction in real time. The ripple effect of your silence. As you practice non-reaction, you'll notice subtle shifts in your relationships. People will adapt to your composed presence, speaking more thoughtfully and listening more deeply. In professional settings, your colleagues will value your even-keeled leadership. In personal life, friends and family will learn that your calm is not indifference, but a space where genuine connection can flourish. Preparing for the next level. Non-reaction is a profound act of self-mastery, laying the groundwork for unbreakable inner strength. As you continue, you will integrate this practice into your identity. You become someone who moves through conflict without losing peace. In the final part of this journey, you will learn to navigate the inevitable solitude of true sovereignty, ensuring that your silent authority carries you forward with unwavering confidence. For now, honor every moment you held back your reaction and listen to the powerful voice of your own stillness. Part 7. Navigating the loneliness of strength. No one warns you that standing firm often leaves you standing alone. When you choose silence over explanation and sovereignty over approval, you step onto a path less traveled. That path can feel isolating, but its very solitude proves the depth of your commitment. In the quiet moments, you confront both your greatest power and your deepest longing for connection. The price of authenticity. Living authentically means resisting the pull of collective expectations. Each boundary you set, each refusal to justify, creates distance from those who remain tied to noise. You might find old friends drifting away who once fit the version of you shaped by their needs. That loss can feel like betrayal, yet it is simply the natural separation between your evolving self and outdated alliances. Embracing solitude as sanctuary. Solitude is not abandonment, but a sanctuary where you reconnect with your core. Ancient Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius retreated inward to examine his own principles, finding guidance in moments of quiet reflection. When you lean into your solitude, you discover the contours of your values, the whispers of your intuition, and the reservoir of resilience that solitude alone can reveal. Seneca on self-reliance. Seneca taught, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The loneliness you encounter is the friction that polishes your character. It reveals where you depend on external comfort and where you truly stand on your own. By facing solitude with courage, you transform trials into triumphs, forging a self-reliance that no crowd can sway. A story of solitary resolve. Consider the tale of a mountaineer who climbs alone to the summit. Fellow trekkers join for camaraderie, but the final ascent must be made in solitude, just climber, cliff, and sky. Each step tests not only physical endurance, but mental resolve. In that height, the climber realizes that external applause pales compared to the inner clarity found above the clouds. Honoring your inner circle. True strength does not demand total isolation. You can surround yourself with those who respect your boundaries and share your values. Seek companions who honor your solitude, who understand that your independence enriches relationships rather than diminishes them. These rare allies provide encouragement without expecting you to dilute your strength for their comfort. Practical exercise, sacred solitude. Today, carve out a brief period, 15 minutes of uninterrupted time. Silence your phone, step away from screens, and simply be with your thoughts. Notice the stirrings of discomfort as silence stretches. Sit with those feelings and ask, what truths emerge when there is no one else to tell? That intentional solitude becomes a daily ritual, a moment to fortify your inner citadel. The mirror of solitude. In solitude, you hold a mirror to your habitual patterns. You see where your mind clings to approval and where it yields to fear. That honest reflection frees you from automatic responses. You learn to choose presence over reactivity, conviction over compromise. Your solitude becomes a laboratory for self-mastery, revealing the alchemy that turns vulnerability into strength. Integrating connection without dilution. You can embrace connection without surrendering your autonomy. Practice sharing from depth rather than seeking acceptance. Speak your truth with clarity and compassion, then return to silence. Let your presence speak without erosion by excessive justification. Over time, this balanced engagement draws others who value you for who you are, not for the versions you perform. Philosophical reflection. Epictetus. Epictetus counseled, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. The loneliness of strength springs from letting go of others' opinions. When you accept that control resides within, you claim freedom even in isolation. That freedom is the soil in which your unbreakable peace takes root." Your path forward. As you navigate the loneliness of strength, remember that solitude is both a test and a teacher. It will challenge you, yet it also illuminates your deepest convictions. In the final section, you will learn how to weave your silent authority into daily practice, ensuring that each step forward resonates with the power you have uncovered. For now, honor your solitude as the crucible in which your resilience is forged. Conclusion. You have journeyed through the illusion of obligation, honored your untold struggles, and claimed silence as your sovereign act. You learned to defend your boundaries with dignity, release the need for validation, and wield non-reaction as your loudest voice. You embraced the loneliness of strength and discovered that solitude, far from being a curse, is a sanctuary for self-mastery. Now you stand on solid ground, anchored by practices that no external force can erode. Remember that your life is not a stage for others' judgments, but a canvas for your own convictions. Each decision you make without explanation, every no you deliver with calm resolve, and each moment you choose presence over reaction builds an inner fortress of unshakable peace. If you found value in this exploration, subscribe to the Stoic Philosophy. Join a community where silence is sacred, stillness is strength, and personal sovereignty is celebrated. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a guide on cultivating mental resilience and living by timeless wisdom. Share your experience in the comments. One moment you chose your own rhythm over the world's demands, and inspire others on their path to quiet power. Stay stoic, stay grounded, and remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation.